fabulous. We unfortunately had another violent weekend in the city with 57 shootings, but the weather held up. I guess that works both ways because on one hand the weather is nice, on the other hand that's when we tend to see more gun violence.
Well, we did a pretty good job this weekend in St. Louis as well, with a couple of people killed and a number of people shot as well. So I guess the hot weather brings out the bad tempers in everybody, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Let's talk about Powerball and Mega Millions for a moment here. I mean, I played Powerball for years here in Missouri, and I can afford it. I plunked down a couple of bucks. I never win a darn thing, but the hope springs eternal. But for people in Illinois, there's a very distinct possibility that they will have to cross the river or cross into another state to be able to buy their Powerball and Mega Millions tickets. What's going on?
Yeah, this might be the final shoe that falls that gets people understanding what this budget crisis in Illinois is doing, right? I mean, for the most part, it's hit universities, it's hit some social service organizations, it's hit some various other state organizations that have had to, either cut people or cut expenses. But for the people who just kind of do their day-to-day activities and work for some private company, it really hasn't had an impact. Well, hold on a second. Here we go. Could you imagine that by June 28th, Powerball will no longer be available to be sold, tickets that is, in Illinois, and by June 30th, no more Mega Millions tickets to be sold. And we're still trying to figure out exactly why that is. Who's the one who is initiating this? It was announced by the Illinois Lottery, which is run by a private group right now, but it may be the full multi-state association, which says, you know what, if you guys don't have the authorization to give out payments, we're not going to have you as part of this game because we don't want to deal with the headaches should someone from Illinois win.
So the way this works then basically is the states are kicking in monies to both Powerball and Mega Millions, and that's where the payouts come from, along with the money that's being invested, if you will, by people like me who plunk a couple of bucks down and do it. And so if the state can't pay, the companies are going to say, we're not going to eat the cost on this. Too bad for you. How much is the revenue loss predicted to be for the state of Illinois, which they don't need, frankly?
Yeah, that's the question. How much money is this going to impact? The other issue you're going to add to that is the fact that without a state budget in place, you don't have the authority to pass out this money. They tried to skirt that in 2015 by prepaying, and that's not allowed. You're not allowed to do that, so the state couldn't prepay the money as a result of them not being able to pass money without having a budget. Now, in 2016, and this might be something that we end up seeing here in the coming days, in 2016 they passed a stopgap budget, which allowed some things to continue, and among those being the lottery services. So they managed to get through these last 2 years by doing various things, and this year it doesn't sound like anyone's willing to play ball, and that's probably why the Illinois Lottery came out and says, you know what, we're going to be done. As far as the revenue generated or revenue lost, we don't know any specifics at this point. This is kind of fuzzy right now as far as where all of this money goes. Because remember, some of this money is supposed to go to education as well, and that's probably something that's going to get figured out if indeed we hit this threshold at the end of the month, where the games are halted altogether.
This almost sounds like there's a political motive here to force the state legislature and the governor to finally sit down and say, okay, we got to do something here. It's been years since we've had a budget, and we need to do it because now it's really hitting people where, although frankly, we were just on Interstate 64 the other day over by the Wabash River crossing into Indiana, and there's a rest stop there. It's been closed for several years now, and I suspect they shut the thing down because they didn't want to spend the money on it.
Are you suggesting that political games are being played in Illinois? I could not imagine that.
Well, if you can play Powerball and Mega Millions, you can play political games too.
Well, exactly. But there another thing. I mean, this isn't just Powerball though. I mean, if we hit the end of this month and there's still no budget, and remember, Governor Rauner has called a special session, so they're going to get in there and they're going to try to make their cases again, to get something passed. But, I mean, it's not just Powerball and Mega Millions. You're going to see construction projects halted. IDOT has already informed contractors statewide, look, if we don't have anything done, we're not going to be able to pay you July 1st, so you better start securing your construction sites. Because there's a good possibility you're not going to be working, which means all of these summer projects are going to be halted across the state. I mean, you're starting to feel it now on the ground level, not just, like I said, these agencies and government organizations. This is going to be something that now everyone's going to start feeling the pain of, and obviously Powerball and Mega Millions is just part of that as well.
Okay, last quick question before we let you go here. It sounds to me like what they could do is kick the can down the road by saying we're going to authorize expenditures just to keep the ball rolling here, and then we'll sit down again and try and knock out a budget.
That's a possibility. There are some people in Illinois on both sides that would like to do that. There are some people who say, we're going to dig in. We want to get this thing hammered out. We want a budget in place. So we'll see, how pig-headed some might say these lawmakers are, or if they are just going to kind of kick the can down the road and try to get a stopgap to at least survive another couple months.
Boy, if you're a resident of Illinois, that's got to be disconcerting to say the least. Has there been much of a groundswell on the part of citizens saying, hey, come on, guys, let's knock this off and get things done?
It's just kind of a throw your hands up and say, it's just them in Springfield. Like I said, these are the first two things, whether it be construction projects and Mega Ball, that are really going to start hitting people at the ground level. I mean, to this point, people have been screaming and yelling, and they've mostly been involved in agencies and social services. And I talked to one gentleman, he says, I can't believe there aren't riots in the streets right now with how bad this has gotten. But it just isn't felt at the private level yet. And, maybe this will change that.
Thank you very much for the time, and good luck.
Take care.
Okay, that's Ryan Burrow, ABC News.